content over everything.
Wasn't, was it? 5 years ago?
Yes, it was never the case.
He was saying, he was talking to Steve about...
Oh yeah, we were talking about cohesion and how I feel it's so important for people, especially the regulars, who come here and who kind of have influence in that sense on social media as well, to like in cohesion. I was very happy when I watched this video on Tommy Robinson's page, and he was talking about the Coach and Speakers Corner, and he was like, well, I've been there and I've actually never seen anyone being stopped ever for speaking out his truth, and I feel like that was a very good representation of what actually happens in Speakers Corner day and out for like people who are regularly here. And
but did you agree with what I said about how it's changing?
Yes, I agree with that as well. I agree with that as well. And you've been coming for a long time as well, Uncle, isn't it? That there has been a change
in here.
Yeah,
in here there has been a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, people who come to fight each other.
Yeah.
Zero. It doesn't matter what anyone says.
Yeah.
You know, you just accept it.
Yeah.
Just relax, chill about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to take your clothes or your body or something.
I feel like it's amazing that we haven't. There's some changes I'm quite happy with. I mean, there's more exposure in terms of there are more people who are interested. You know, channels like these, Content Over Everything, who kind of report like human interactions.
But in terms of people that are physically coming here, though, the numbers have gone down. Okay, they've increased in recent weeks because of what Tommy's doing and stuff.
Yeah.
But generally, the numbers
have done.
When I started coming here 10, 15 years ago, there used to be much bigger numbers here than now.
I didn't know
but you could say there's more people watching it online.
Yeah.
But that's a different sort of
But I
take.
I found that most of the people here come to wind others.
Yeah, this is
Not like me.
seriously, I feel.
But you can do that though. You can do it in jest, and I don't do it for
I
any.
didn't have any discussion with you and stuff like that. I know your character. You come across, you say what you want to say.
Yeah, and you don't hold that against me, do you?
Huh?
You don't
No, I
hold that
hate
against
you.
me. You
No,
don't.
I don't. No. You've got to say what you've got to say. Say it. That's it. And the angry part,
Isn't that all that someone like Tan does? Just people seem very angry and irate with how Tan behaves.
That's what I said.
I feel like with Tan, why is it not not that I want to talk about him, he's not here, but my question, like, I'm questioning his character. Like, he's quite intense because that's all he does. Every week is a demonstration going on.
You need time, you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, do that if you want to, but then also give us different, like, angles of you. You know, I'm very interested. I mean, I had a conversation with him before, and he was like starting to open up. He was telling me about what happens in Malaysia. I did the research, and you know what? He was not lying about what Muslims do to the Chinese ethnic. That there is a racial tension that I'm not going to deny. And I feel like that's the problem. That, like, we as Muslims, we need to start to listen. For God's sake, just listen once to what the person is saying. There might be some truth in it, and then because he was like, Tan is saying basically, okay, there are problems everywhere. What's your solution? You can't come preach to us when there are problems up there. It's a fair point. Do you agree with it? Not necessarily, but it's a fair point, I think.
Tan, all of a sudden he come off the block.
He's only been coming here for a few months.
Yeah.
October, was it?
Yeah, something like that. You know, all of a sudden, I think the first time he came in, he was too shy. Then he kicked on because he found out this is where I get to get famous. You know.
But you see, you both are quite veterans, coming here for a long time.
Thank you very much.
No debate, eh? So
No, my life is.
Oh, okay.
I like it. I like what you're talking about.
You guys have been like veterans. You've been here for a long time, yeah. So OGs in the street language. Like, what do you think? Where is it heading towards to? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Until what's been happening recently, it was going in one direction. The numbers of people generally was going down.
Yeah.
The variety of speakers and the variety of subjects that were spoken about was going down.
Decreased. Very good
but the number of people that was increasing was the Muslim people. And I've got to say, obviously present company accepted, it wasn't a good type of Muslim, and just actively owning the place, walking around like they own the place, intimidating, shouting down anyone that says anything in opposition to them, increasingly not just with threats but increasingly with actual physical violence. I mean, Tan has been assaulted a number of times, and that was increasing, and I didn't see any particular signs of that stopping.
Yeah.
In fact, the first sign, which is why I give a lot of credit to Tan, the week that Tan just stood silently in front of the prayer over there,
Yeah.
that was the start of the police doing anything. Because the number of Muslim prayers, people praying and laying out mats permanently all during the day and setting up tables and stuff, that was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was encroaching on Speaker's Corner. And quite frankly, I predicted there'd be gazebos, there'd be tents next. It would get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Tan stopped that, in my view, because the week after, the police stepped in and the police cordoned off the area that had become the permanent prayer base. They cordoned it off and they told the Muslim, you go and pray down there, you don't do it here. And I think that was that was a good move. And then secondly, what Tommy Robinson has done, he's put the spotlight on Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
The numbers are increasing. People, British people in London, they're remembering Speaker's Corner.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I want to go and check it out. He's put the spotlight on it. It's on people's agenda more now.
Yeah.
And even today, a few weeks after he was here, the numbers of people here were more. There was
Yeah.
more diversity of
Diversity.
people.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Speaker's Corner. You can't, whatever the subject is, whether it was Islam or something else, if you just have increasingly one group of people
Yes.
that are just talking
Stale.
their stuff, it becomes stale, it becomes boring, and it will die out. So it needed a bit of invigoration, and I think, like him or not, Tommy Robinson has helped reinvigorate
Yeah.
Speaker's Corner. Now, clearly a lot of people hate his guts and spew a whole load of absolute nonsense, in my view, about
Yeah.
the guy. But as I say, like him or not, he has put the spotlight on Speaker's
Yeah.
Corner, and I think that is generally for the good. There's a bit of a tense atmosphere here, but
Yeah.
generally it's
Can I ask you, what's his aim? What's his aim? What?
his
show that group
his stated aim
Section-
is for free speech, is to ensure that the privilege of free speech that we enjoy in this country is not blighted, is not diminished, is not reduced.
Yeah.
And the fact that Speaker's Corner, which is seen as the bastion of that, is genuinely a place of free speech where you
Okay.
can come and say anything of any nature. That is his mission.
So you see, then I made a point of ignorance, because I was in a video before talking to Respect and Mohammed Hijab, and my understanding was that he was using the precept of freedom of speech really just to, it's like use it. It's just like it was just one box or one
Using
stone.
it for what purpose? For
Yeah,
what?
just to further his whatever that, just to propagate. Like, it's like, for me, it seemed like he was creating problems. Creating problems, like, because I thought you come to Speaker's Corner to speak about freedom of speech, when Speaker's Corner, like you said, it's the bastion of freedom of speech. But then I fully misunderstood what.
I mean, the
misunderstood, so I need to apologise for that.
precise catalyst of him coming in here was an Austrian guy, Martin Sellner,
Yeah.
due to be coming here,
Yeah.
due to be standing on a ladder,
Yeah.
due to be given a speech. That guy was detained. I think he flew into Luton Airport,
Yeah.
was put in a detention centre in Colebrook,
Yes.
and was then sent back to Austria
Yeah.
when he was due to give a speech.
But did you know that Martin Sellner also, because after that, obviously, because I was raised in Germany, so I speak fluently German. I watched the interview in German, Martin Sellner in Berlin, and then the woman who's interviewing her, she was saying that he is actually classified, his group, is the identity.
Generation identity.
Yeah, exactly. They are classified as they're being investigated by the German secret services, right? So maybe it has to do with that.
Yeah, but believe him or not believe him,
Yeah.
his point was it doesn't matter what Martin Sellner was due to say. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what Martin Sellner stands for. I'm going to read his speech. I
Yeah.
mean, what was his line? You can ban the speaker, but you won't ban the speech.
Yeah.
So he did say, again, believe him or not,
Yeah.
it could have been the Communist Manifesto. It could have been Mein
Yeah.
Kampf. It doesn't matter what the subject was. In fact, he even said he hadn't even read the speech until
Yeah.
just before.
Yeah.
His point was this man has been denied coming to Speaker's Corner, and my point on that video, I'm not aware that any other individual throughout the history of Speaker's Corner has ever been denied the right to come here.
That's the
People
point.
have been arrested and people have been banned and people have been evicted from the corner for violence and for fights or whatever, but actually stopping someone even come here, even arrive here, I've never known that. I've never heard of that happening before.
But I mean, Pamela Geller.
Yeah, so she
thinks-
was stopped coming
Yeah.
into Britain, but she wasn't coming to Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
So I'm just being specific about
Okay,
Speaker's Corner.
specific,
I'm not aware
right.
that anyone's been stopped,
Okay.
prevented from coming to Speaker's
Yeah.
Corner. And you know, people on the far left, people on the far right have come to Speaker's Corner over the years and spoken.
Maybe, you know, maybe the officials have dealt with it in a different way, but I don't work for the Home Office, but I had clues, but I had some hints via the interview that I was referencing, where Martin Sellner was talking to the German.
I mean, I'm in no
He's been
way
investigating.
I'm in no way arguing for Martin Sellner or arguing
Yeah.
for generation identity. You know that they are ethno-nationalists, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
I have no time for ethno-nationalism. I have time for patriotism. I have time
Yeah.
for nationalism.
Yeah.
But I would never bring in ethnicity into that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, and to be honest, the more I read about them, that does seem to be the core of their
Yeah,
beliefs.
yeah,
So,
that's
so I'm not.
based on my research as well.
I'm not in agreement with them, but not letting them come here, that is wrong.
Yeah, that's what I said. Maybe the officials have dealt with it
and the
wrongly.
precise example or
Maybe,
demonstration
I don't
of
know.
why I think that is the wrong thing to do, what was the end of the BNP? The end of the BNP, which did actually get quite popular and they were getting a lot of votes. The end of the BNP was when Nick Griffin went on to Question Time and the country saw the clown and the fool that
He
that
was.
man was.
True, very
Yet
true.
people were demonstrating outside BBC television centres saying, you know, no platform for racists, no platform for Nazis. Bollocks! Give him a platform, and the BNP died within months. So even if you're saying I don't agree with that man, we must prevent him from coming, we must detain him.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Expose people, challenge people, let them say what they want to say, and then they can be exposed. People aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Aren't that stupid?
Yeah, yeah.
So banning him because they
There's
thought.
also a lot of Muslim scholars.
Who've been banned?
I'm not close, but a lot of Muslim scholars that have been banned from each country.
But also there are many Muslims, very true hate-preaching Muslim scholars that have not been banned, that are regularly doing tours around Britain.
The other one, Robinson.
But the people that have talked about, you know, gays should be killed and Jews should be killed, and a lot of very unsavoury preachers have been allowed to come. Now,
You see, sorry.
No, go on. A few of them, lots of them.
have been
They
banned.
don't talk. Yeah, a lot, they don't come to talk about racism or anything like that. It's just a lecture which is about Islam. You know, a Muslim like to listen to it. There's no hate in it or anything like that. But most of these people, the ones you said, and you said as well, you said, I don't mind listening to anyone. I don't care who he is. You have to listen to him what he's saying.
So
But there is an element of hate inside.
why do you think Martin Sellner isn't up? Why was he stopped from coming?
I personally believe, because obviously I never heard of him before, up on what happened, and then I started researching into him and what he believes, and like I said, so that one interview gave me a cue. He is being investigated for whatever reasons. So, you know, the European Union, which we are still part of, the secret, the services work with each other.
Yeah.
So if they, in Austria, have given, you know, heads up at Home Office, or this guy has potentially, you know, does this and that and whatever, then I think maybe that was the element of it, more than actually knowing who he is as a person. Because I think he just shoot up to stardom since the mass immigration
In Germany.
Yeah. And I was listening. I was listening to him for now, because, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I really want to leave my paradigm, and I want to understand how, and I would probably have never, but how does a white European feels who grew up in a world that was predominantly white when he was younger, and now he's in his 40s, and he sees the world has totally changed so quick, right? Like, I want to know what drives him, what does he feel the way he feels, and I feel like that's the first thing that we need to start doing before we can even have like some sort of solution or even discussion. You can't even have discussions nowadays anymore.
So did you say earlier you were born in Germany?
No, I was raised in Germany.
You were raised,
Yeah.
but from a young age.
Yeah.
So obviously Germany is one country now that's had a very high level of Muslim immigration in a very short space of time.
Yes.
Very, very, very large numbers.
Correct.
And you know, I've been to Germany not in recent years, but I always remember it was very white.
Yeah.
Berlin in particular,
Yeah.
but not just Berlin. I've been to Hamburg.
Yeah.
Where else did I go? Stuttgart. They're all very, very white towns and cities. What's your take on what's happening in Germany today with this massive, very high levels of immigration?
It's
and
an
the
interesting
reaction to it?
question. I mean, Hamburg, that's where my parents are.
Okay.
You know, the thing is, like, at the beginning of what was happening in a Syrian conflict, I was very proud, to be honest. I was very proud.
But you were accepting the...
Yeah, I was like, it really reminded me of the Sahaba, in Medina, not Muhajirin, the Ansar, right? The Medinan Muslims, the way you were accepting the refugee Muslims from Mecca, right? They were sharing houses with them and other things. And that was happening in Germany as well. People were taking refugees into the houses. So I was super like proud of that, you know, and I was like, right, you know, finally positivity is winning. And we're heading towards a future of positivity. But the aftermath was, I feel like maybe it was a miscalculation.
In what way?
In terms of maybe it just took too many in.
Just because a few of those refugees
Yeah,
are Muslim and spoiled it for the rest of the people.
Yeah. Maybe just the levels, that's just the volume. I mean, that's a vast change. Can you imagine that? Here right now in London, like hundreds of thousands of people, 800,000 people in 2 months or 3 months. 800,000 people in 3 months coming into your country. It's going to be very easy, and then you can't expect. But then also, you can't expect that to work in 12 months.
So, exactly. So
Right.
why was Angela Merkel so dumb to think that it wouldn't result in what it's resulted in?
Maybe she wants to stay in the power.
I mean, you can look at it from
What, that they were votes?
Huh?
They were votes coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You can look at it from two angles. You can look at it from someone like Lawrence Salvin, who talks a lot about replacement. So does Martin Sellner. They talk a lot about replacement, and that it's like there's like a bigger intention behind it, which is replace the European race.
But would you give any credence to that idea or that theory?
Yeah, there's some truth to it.
You
I
think
believe.
so?
I believe. My mom, she's currently still there, and she says that to me.
Really?
That it seems as if the German government is intentionally bringing in people because the birth rates aren't just matching.
No, what about?
So for the workforce, for the labour?
Yes,
for the-
also.
What about the works?
Yeah,
Carry all the.
they're getting all the.
Carry all the.
But again, I am right now in London. I live in London, so I know more about London than what happens in Germany. So I'm talking very mainstream here. But yeah, that's my view.
But what's happening in Germany today could happen in London tomorrow, couldn't it?
But you know what's funny? Whilst
It's already happening.
Well,
isn't it?
yeah.
you know what's funny?
Multicultural.
Yeah, but you know what's funny, statistic-wise? When Germany took over 800,000 people in 2015, UK took barely 3,000. They said no.
Officially,
Yeah,
legally.
yeah, we don't want more than that, right? So, yeah. So
Okay, Steve, can I
answer
ask
that.
you a question then? You're looking at from one point of view, you know,
Yeah.
so many refugees, you know, coming from Syria. Muslims.
I'm not.
No. I just want to ask you a question. It's
Yeah,
your
yeah,
opinion,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
what I'll ask
yeah.
both of you. You know, why did it happen in the first place?
Well, that makes me a point that I was thought of when you were saying what you said. They're not all Syrian, are they? And another question I have actually.
Yeah.
They're all men. They're all men in their 20s, 30s. If they're fleeing war, where are the women? Where are the children? Of course, there are some.
Yeah.
But it is self-evident. The numbers are men. They're young men. If you're fleeing, you don't leave your wife and family behind if you're fleeing war, because that's the narrative we're spun, that they're all Syrian or Yemenis or whatever, and they're all fleeing wars that we, the horrible West, have created.
you can't-
But they're not all Syrian. They're Albanian. They're Bangladeshis. You know, they're across the board, and they're all young men.
But you can't. One thing we mustn't do is. I don't have the statistic on whether it's just male or male dominated. I don't know. And the other thing we mustn't do also is to neglect the fact that a lot of these immigrants come or went through Libya to Italy.
Yeah.
Right? there were many routes, but that's one of the
That's the main route.
one of the very popular routes was through Libya, and we know what happened to Libya 3 years prior, right? They got rid of Libya. David Cameron was parading in Tripoli, okay.
But these aren't Libyans. There's not many Libyans.
They're not Libyans,
that are
but
coming
you know
out.
when Gaddafi was in power, the amount of immigrants going through his country,
Right.
that doesn't happen. But then again, like I'm an immigrant myself. Do you understand? I'm an economic immigrant in that sense. You know, my
Well, and that's the point I was going to make. These people, they largely, in my view, they are economic migrants.
But
let's not pretend they're all fleeing wars.
Okay, look, this is for the little knowledge I have, the demographic, ethnographic in Germany with the immigrants is, and in Hamburg, it's Libyans, Syrians, a lot of Syrians. You have Libyans as well. You got Eritrean, a lot of Eritreans came through. And then you have Albanians and Afghanis. So a lot of Afghanis came through as well. So, like I said, I think because we don't really have the numbers as such, I think it's just
Yeah, you know.
yeah, right now we don't have the numbers, so I feel like I will remain balanced with it. And I'm a child. I'm a product of that. You know, I'm a product of immigration. And my parents came to Europe because they wanted a better future for myself. So I understand that as well. But at the same time, I also understand the point of view of the ethnic community who are facing problems. My mom was talking. She was talking to me about how it's, you know, the difficulty of finding flats and housing in Germany, in Hamburg right now. It's
The
caused a lot
question I've
of
asked you about
Yeah,
is,
sorry.
you said,
go on,
you
brother.
just mentioned
Cool, bro.
Afghanis,
Yeah.
Iraqis,
Cool, man.
Syrians,
Yeah.
the people that were
Eritreans.
actually
It's only
working
once a month,
in
so.
Libya themselves,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
people
In last Sunday of every month.
you know,
A lot of people came from Libya. Yeah, a lot of people.
All these people ended up going.
Yeah, that's how it started still, but I'm calming down. Probably when the summer comes, you'll get back to that, you get me?
But the reason why?
Yeah.
What's your question?
Because their country got disturbed. Didn't
So
it?
yeah, my battery's about to die.
Albania
Look,
was also-
it's flashing, man.
No, I'm not talking about.
Bangladesh.
You want to take all, you got to jump in.
No, I'm talking about Afghanis, Iraqis.
It's behind me.
So you're
Behind.
trying to
No, I
demonstrate the
think
narrative
I've gone
that
through all
they're
of them,
fleeing
man.
I'm not
wars
saying
of the West.
Syria was okay.
I ain't even got my charger. I ain't got my charger. I might have another spare battery. I need to check, man, but I doubt it. I've gone for a lot today, man.
Iraq the same.
Yeah,
They destroyed.
you
That's
see,
what
Are you
creates
saying
the movement.
before they were?
No, I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying that's what has got disturbed.
Right.
yeah.
It's got everything got disturbed.
No, I don't even smoke.
You know, I don't know where.
Huh?
Yeah, there's.
No, I don't smoke
He was
nothing.
in there.
You ain't never seen me smoke.
He was in Afghanistan, he was in Syria and Libya.
No way, I don't smoke,
You
man.
and your family somewhere safe.
No, nothing at all, man. I ain't never smoked.
Yeah, that's something that like no one can deny.
A couple of them man there, my brother smokes, but still, he's over there, man. Ask
See
him
the
now.
suffering, and we
the
I'm in
camera.
solidarity with people who flee from massacres and killings, you know, and my Syrian brothers and sisters. I fully agree with that, but it doesn't take away the issues that we have afterwards. There's still issues. I mean, a lot of people understand how governments fully functions, right? But that's governance needs. You take 800,000 people into your country. How do you like naturalize that? We have people who've been in this country for like 30 years, and we still have two societies living within one society, let alone having 800,000 people come.
And like I said, considering Germany was so pretty
Yeah.
monocultural and mono.
Yeah.
Actually upsetting for the
Yeah, I mean-
people's journey. So all of a
Well, it's
sudden-
hardly surprising that the AfD have now become the official.
all of a sudden,
Yeah, I
opposition.
mean, I feel again. Don't you think that's? Don't you think?
Looking limelight. No.
Don't you think that is a reaction as well?
Yeah, of course it is.
It is
Yeah,
a reaction
yeah,
to what has happened.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, it has happened now, and you know, how are we going to carry this together now? I mean, that's why I don't agree with people like Martin Selner or even Tommy Robinson to an extent, because okay, this is reality now. Like causing division and pointing fingers at people. You know, it's like, you know that I have a disease, right? You know that I have a disease, and you're pointing it out to me. But are you pointing it out to me because you care about my disease, or are you pointing it out to me because you care that I might affect you with my disease, or are you pointing it out to me because you're just frustrated? What are the intentions? I feel like we have to start questioning our intentions. Someone like Tom.
Continuing with
Yeah.
that example,
Yeah.
if I'm shouting that you've got a disease,
Yeah.
if the reason I'm shouting you've got that disease because I don't want to get infected by that disease, that's a reasonable standpoint.
It's reasonable. It is reasonable. But the result and the effectiveness of you actually helping me to get rid of the disease so that you don't get affected by it decreases, because that's human nature. I will then go in defense. What do you mean? I'm not ill. Look at me. You know? And I feel like that's what a lot of these people are doing. It's like, if you really care about your country, if you really care about the issues. Okay, go ahead.
And you're probably going to disagree with what I'm about to say, but
Maybe not.
So transferring that situation into reality.
Yeah.
So if I'm a German person,
Yeah.
and I see all these immigrants coming in from North Africa or whatever,
Yeah.
Muslim immigrants who have very, very different culture, very different perspective on
Yeah.
how you treat women, how you behave, whatever those differences are, but they're
Yeah.
very, very significant differences. Would it be right for me to say, stop treating women like that. Stop treating gay people like that. We respect women. We respect gay people. Don't think you can touch them up in the swimming pool or whatever, or that you're going to have separate rooms or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of
And
reality,
what do you do with that? You've got a massive number of people
Yeah.
coming in who come from a very, very different cultural view, background, on some really key, significant aspects of how we live life.
yeah.
So
How do you deal with that? Because either they integrate and change their behaviours
Yeah.
to integrate into the society that's accepted them and house them, etc., etc., or
You know,
what?
You know, I know my experience with kids is when a kid has a particular behavior, to get rid of that behavior, it takes a while. If you tell your kid, don't put your
I would say it's easier with children, but we're not talking about children here. We're talking about grown adults.
No,
that have
well, I'm talking
those-
about behavior, right? I'm talking
Right,
about
yeah.
behavior and culture and every sort of such things. There aren't things that you can just switch off like from day one to two.
Yeah.
And my point, the point I'm trying to make is that unfortunately that's not reality. That's not what happened. What happens usually is this: you have media, okay, coming at the immigrants, the rape of Cologne.
he sells the news.
There's rapists and Cologne and they did this. To me, it's not like you're not trying to solve the problem really. It's really like, how do you approach? You know, in the design industry, that's this thing called problem solving. Okay, and you look at the situation. How do I solve this problem efficiently without friction? Why can't we just apply that too?
But as long as that doesn't mean denial of the problem, brushing it
I
under
agree.
the carpet.
I agree. That's what
Because you cited Cologne, Frankfurt's another example. New Year's Eve on Frankfurt.
Yes.
That was probably about 3 years ago now. Was that reality? Was
Yeah.
it just blown up? Is reality actually much more significant than the media has talked
Yeah.
about? And what has been done to
Well,
tackle
you know,
it and deal with it?
when I looked into the Cologne thing, me being able to speak German,
Yeah.
I saw many different angles from it. Some people said it was blown out of proportion. Some people said, well, it did actually took place, and some people saying, well, it's just the media again doing what they do best. What I'm proposing to you as well is like, if we want to solve a problem, can we solve the problem by trying to establish some form of relationship versus, or instead of, me trying to cause a division
You can
first
interrupt if you want, I don't know.
and making clear who I am.
But in all of this, shouldn't there be red lines? Shouldn't there be lines of absolute, that is not acceptable?
I'm gonna see you when
And
this batch
you
I'll
you
check.
can't tiptoe around those things or tolerate them.
Sorry, Steve Kainin. The problem is you try and force people to change their way.
But shouldn't that be part of it? If you come here, we're going to give you a house, we're going to look after you, you can get a job,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
I'm just
shouldn't,
like you,
shouldn't
I'm
rights
talking
should
to
come with responsibilities, shouldn't they? And are those responsibilities being
Look,
being
I
enforced?
respect the way you live. You should respect.
Absolutely,
And
that's
we
how
should
it
talk
should
to each
be.
other. That's what the brother is talking
but
about.
possibly that's not the reality.
But you know,
and there are people that aren't accepting the.
But Steve, let's look at immigration in a different scenario. You know, if you were to go to, for work purposes, you say, well, I'm going to go to work to India, or your company sends you to India or to China. You're going to get a briefing on how to behave in a particular country.
But do we do that?
But here, we're talking about refugees. They don't have no freaking briefing.
They don't have briefing, and they're coming in big numbers all together, and that in itself is going to sort of bolster them up. So we can behave how we want to behave.
I just feel
because
like,
if you go on your own, if you go on your own and you're standing in the middle of Cologne, you're going to say, I better be careful here, what I do, how I behave, and you're going to be much more reserved. But if there's loads of you, and probably drinking a bit of alcohol and stuff, then you're going to be more
possibly, that's
brazen and do your thing.
Okay, just to cut, what I'm trying to say is, can those people who are so concerned about these issues, it's like, Albert Einstein, he says this, if you try a thing over and over and over again and you expect different results, it's insanity. Right? So if people like, I don't want to name anyone, but if you are someone who's really concerned about the issues that we are facing as a society, if you have a particular approach and that approach is not really getting you anywhere, why not try a different approach? That's what I'm trying to say.
And hopefully Angela Merkel will try
but I'm
approach.
also including people like Tommy Robinson.
He's not in a position of power or influence in reality, is he? He's just a campaigner for a cause.
He is in a position of influence. He is an influential person.
The state is doing all they can to diminish and reduce and limit any influence that he has whatsoever.
I understand
for example,
that,
by banning him from Twitter.
I understand that. But what if he was to change his approach? Maybe he would be more successful.
And he has done that. He has done that because he was the EDL leader, and then he's gone into journalism.
So maybe we have to give him more time, to be fair. Because I've seen him changing him. It would be unfair not to say that the guy is actually learning. It seems like he's learning his stuff. But do you see where I'm coming from?
He's learning his stuff, and maybe you're now seeing more of the true reality that you didn't see before. Could also be part of it.
Possibly. I agree with that. Why not? But all I'm saying is maybe change the approach. The wall of death, two groups of people shouting at each other. How's that ever going to change?
His design.
I'm not saying that it was
or his
design.
control. Or...
No, I can't say that you can control 6,000 people plus. I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is that's not going to solve the issue. Do you understand?
I would still say it's done benefit. It's created greater benefit than it's created.
No, but I'm saying on the long term, that stuff is not going to solve the issue.
Come take over everything from your melody.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to.
Shia wants, so it's
No, translation. No. I'm talking about the translation. So if you both turn and repent unto God, for your hearts did certainly incline. Incline to what? That's not what it says.
and
For
if
your hearts
you
did certainly
aid
incline.
one another against him, then truly God is his protector, and Gabriel and the righteous amongst the believers and the angels. So this for me is it not?
This is why Arabic, trust me, if you go into the Noble Quran, boy,
I've got another translation as well.
I'll tell you, this is the problem
Let's go
with
to
people
the clear
mistranslation.
Quran. Let's go to the clear.